Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to the 21st Virtual Leadership Seminar held under the auspices of Youth Impact Movement. Let's start with prayers. Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to look with favor upon this Youth Impact Movement. Grant that it may perform this high duty as in thy sight. Give divine guidance, clarity, and insight with eloquence to our guest speaker and host, that they may deliver in capacity building. We commit unto your hands all participants that they may understand and adapt all that will be taught today. Bless the efforts of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Youth Impact Movement, Ghana. Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to our virtual leadership seminar. And today's seminar is a special one because our guest speaker has spoken to us before, but that was 2 years ago. That was 2 years ago when he, on Thursday, 10th February, on the topic exploring diplomacy and technology in youth empowerment. Ladies and gentlemen, speak to us. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest is no other person than Mr. Elorm Dokpah. He loves God and Jesus Christ. He fellowships with the Holy Spirit and as well, very much spiritual. He is young and ambitious, goal-oriented, and a results-driven person. And as a matter of fact, he has served in many leadership skills or many leadership portfolios, if I may say. Michael did his bachelor at Kekon University, and then he also followed out, and then he did his master's in the same university. Right after school, he currently works with the he worked with the Western Premium Company, and currently he's the director of Kekon Ventures Limited. Yes. So when it comes to his leadership roles, he served as the public relations officer of NASPA Home Municipal from 2019 to 2020. He also chaired the Projects and Programs Committee of the Kekon University SRC. He also chaired the Vetting Committee of Ghana Association of Student Planners. He was a member of Vetting Committee for International Students Association, Kekon University. And the most enduring portfolio that he has ever held, that was very juicy, was that he was the president of the Faculty of Built Environment Students Society from May 2017 to May 2018. As a matter of fact, he's active in politics as well, but that is a low-key arrangement. And he has won many awards. Many awards. He is a very talented young man, filled with knowledge and wisdom, and today he wants to share that with us. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce your guest speaker for today's memorable 21st Virtual Leadership Seminar, and that is no other person than Mr. Elorm Dorkpah, the director of Kekon Ventures. Ladies and gentlemen, your guest speaker, your audience. I now invite you to take the floor, sir.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for your kind words. And thank you so much. And good evening to all honorable members of the House. I don't know if I'm loud and clear.
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, thank you so much. So I think now is both Parliament, the Senate, and then Senate and Parliament now. So I think there are two houses here this evening.
Exactly.
And I want to recognize both houses and both leaderships. And then we'll just quickly get into the matter of discussion this evening. So, Mr. Speaker, if it's okay by you, I think I would want to share my screen. So you could stop sharing yours so that I could share my just
So
have a brief.
I'm sure you can still share it.
Okay.
It will just overlap mine. So
All right,
go
that's
ahead
fine.
and share.
Okay. So just a minute and I think we are good. Okay, so it looks like I have to convert my slides to PDF before I can share it. So let me just do that quickly.
Oh, okay. I was thinking you could just share your screen though.
Okay, my screen directly as I have it. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, is my screen showing?
Not yet.
Okay. I don't know.
So you could click the share screen button. It is at the bottom.
Yeah.
When you click, to ask you whether you want to share your entire screen or a particular
Just
window.
okay. Okay.
Fantastic.
I don't know if we are. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, like the right honorable speaker has said already, we are looking at exploring diplomacy and then technology in youth empowerment. And then, without wasting much time, this is going to be the outline of our presentation. I'll take the house briefly through, just a brief introduction to whatever dialogue we want to have as far as youth empowerment, youth leadership, youth advocacy is concerned. We'll look at technology in this context. We will briefly look at both technology and diplomacy combined, how they can work hand in hand to enhance whatever we want to achieve as young people. Then we'll look at some scenarios that we have recorded in present days as far as youth leadership, blending it with technology is concerned. Then there will be a call to action, and then we will conclude. So as a form of introduction, from the experience of, we've had 3 major industrial revolutions in human history. And then currently in the 21st century, we are experiencing what we call the digital transformation. And then it's seen, of course, as the 4th one. And then it's well recognized as a key element for sustainable development. Now, at every level, at every front, from international levels to national levels to community levels, enterprises, organizations, NGOs, bilateral organizations, and everywhere, the conversation on digital transformation is happening. AI is here and it is real, and it is changing a lot of things. It is essential to identify the priority actions, the future drivers, and then the structural changes, as well as long-term assumptions and risks to ensure the achievement of the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So yet again, yes, we are anticipating the 4th industrial revolution, which is with us here. And just as young people as young leaders in whatever field of endeavors we find ourselves, the onus lies on us to be able to forecast how this whole revolution is going to change our lives, both socially, economically, and in every form of sector that we find ourselves. So this is what the introduction is talking about, basically. And amongst one of those forecasts that is going to drive the front of this growth, the socioeconomic growth in the few years to come, is the youth, who are significantly important. And the topic regarding the youth is a topic that must always be looked at. It's not just about, they have to be part of the integral process of policy initiation, policy formulation, policy implementation, and then policy monitoring and then evaluation. So the youth has to be in the forefront of all things. Gone were the days where it looks like policies are just formulated on behalf of the youth, and then people believe that they understand what the youth need. The conversation is changing, and now we are looking at how the youth can be integrated in the very stage of policy initiation down to evaluation. And more exactly, they could be the driving factor in exploring new areas of potential social and economic development. Now, just allow me to set some of these foundations that we get into the conversation better. So there is no universally agreed international definition for a youth group. But this evening, I want us to adopt the United Nations Habitat's Youth Fund definition, which put a youth between the age of 15 to 32 years. There are many people who have other perspective about youth. Some of them talk about the strength and ability, the mental capabilities and all that. But then let's limit the conversation to the year so that we can put the conversation in perspective. And so once you are discussing this issue concerning the youth, we are looking at youth engagement, we are looking at diplomacy, we are looking at the tech advantage in providing the 21st century youth an advantage over what the other youth that has come before these people have. So basically, we are looking at youth engagement, we are looking at diplomacy, and then the tech advantage that this current youth have over the ones that has been before them. So diplomacy, the truth of the issue is that there are many, many definitions of diplomacy as we can find in the dictionary. I know that when we mention diplomacy, most people are thinking about being a high commissioner, going on foreign missions and all that. Yes, that is also in place. But the current world is looking at diplomacy more of negotiation, more of using the tools and whatever ability that you have at your beck and call to be able to put forward policy suggestions, put the youth demands that are able to shape government decisions, and then international policies, and as well as socioeconomic development. So that is where the conversation is shifting to. I mean, diplomacy in the sense that it doesn't need to be, you don't need to be in a particular country before you can influence policy decisions over there, or to say that you don't need to be in power. So we don't need to be in power as young people before we can influence policy decision. And when we are going down the line, we will look at how some of these things has been achieved across the world. So that is where diplomacy is becoming a broader conversation, where it's not just about, okay, I've traveled to the US, I've traveled out and all that. No, we are looking at how can we be able to use what we have to be able to influence policy decision, to be able to drive the demands of the youth, to be able to foster economic, social, and then economic development. So the World Youth Reports as of 2023 illustrate that there are a lot of youth movement that are going on. And from a youth movement that is driving climate action across the Arab region to an organization expanding digital literacy among young people in rural Philippines, and to Global Youth Network, which are educating people on sexual and reproductive rights, young people are everywhere. And they are indeed stepping in where the previous generation has failed. So the World Youth Report is recognizing the fact that day in, day out, young people are stepping up to the game, and they are standing up to the issues that bother them, and they want answers. They want to strive in whatever field that they find themselves. And of course, when you look at the COP conference 2024, the most popular statement that characterized that conference was done by a Swedish 16-year-old girl, Greta, that she's known for. And it wasn't made by a head of state. It wasn't made by the UN Secretary General. It was made by a young person. That look, the climate change that we are experiencing is here to come, and they want proactive answers. And that was when you follow the COP conference 2024, you realize that was the domineering theme in the entire conference, and it was done by a young person. So yes, the young person are more resilient. They are more determined to be able to change the world in which they have come, and then change it for better for those who will come after them. Now, there are a lot of diplomatic institutions and the diplomatic venues. Most of the prominent among them is the Best Diplomats United Kingdom. This is an annual convergence of young people all over the world who sit to contemplate on social and economic issues from various sub-regions. They put best foots of ideas together, get where they can be able to collaborate on ideas and on plans, and as far as implementation is concerned. There's also Diplomatic Academy of Vienna, which is in Austria, which I must say I'm a proud member of. There is the Voice for Right International Canada, which I'm also a delegate of as well. Then there is Global Citizens, and then there is the Mandela Washington Fellowship for Young African Leaders. The Mandela Washington Fellowship for Young African Leaders try its best to bring together about 700 young Africans from all over Africa every year for a 6-week intensive program that stretches beyond social development, economic development, entrepreneurship, academics, and all that in various US universities. And I think it's one of the things that we all want to look out for as young people. So now let's discuss a little bit on technology. So of course, there are many explorations and an effort that has been made to enable young people's connectivity and access to educational resources. The International Telecommunication Unit has launched the Resolution 198 at a conference in Dubai in 2018 on the topic Empowerment of the Youth Through Telecommunication/Information and Communication Strategy. And again, the ITU has also launched the GIGA, which is to join force with other such similar platforms, which was launched in 2019. All those things to help with internal connectivity. And most of these things, currently, there are many, many things that we know of, like tech diplomacy, which is strictly efforts being driven by countries. I think now there are about 70 tech diplomats all over the world who are actively working with the Silicon Valley in Ireland. And then what they do over there, of course, that is the tech hub of the world. So they are looking at how they can understudy some of these things, share big data, cybersecurity issues, and all that, and to make sure that, okay, fine, whilst young people are exploring some of these IT facilities and then communication system to be able to do whatever they want to do, it's not being taken advantage of by extremist groups and all that. So technology is an increasing core dimension of global social, economic, and then industry agendas. We are now seeing the rise of tech, government tech ecosystem with tech startups and small to medium scale enterprises providing products and services to aid the digital transformation of administration, enabling governments to be more efficient, to serve the public. This is just an information that as of 2023, the global government IT spends exceeding about almost $600 billion on only government IT facilities across the whole world. So this should let us know that, like I said, the fourth industrialization is here. If government IT alone all over the world is spending about more than $500 billion on IT, it means that it's a point where, as young people, we need to look at and be more interested in as day in, day out. You know, you can't live in the dark in this age as far as IT is concerned. So yes, diplomacy and technology put together. The Brazilian Deputy Consul General and tech ambassador, he described tech diplomacy, like I made mention of, there is such a thing as tech diplomacy. I just thought to make mention of this so that we understand properly the context in which we don't mix what we are trying to achieve with tech diplomacy. That basically is the conduct and practice of international relations, like I made mention of earlier, dialogue and negotiations on global digital policies, and then also emerging technology issues among states, the private sector, civil society, and then other groups. It goes further than just digital diplomacy, which loosely describe the digital tools countries use to carry out dialogue and achieve their aims. Like I made mention earlier, the digital diplomacy itself focuses on, okay, tools that nations are able to use. So for example, when you now go to US conferences, they're able to translate one spoken language into various languages for people to hear. We are having video conferences on Zooms and the likes, webness. I mean, like we are doing right now on Google Meet and many kind of these things. So the digital diplomats focuses on how some of these tools can be used efficiently by countries to carry out their dialogue and then they achieve their aim. And then whilst they are doing that, they are able to also evaluate some of these tools that throw up, including piracy issues, cybersecurity threats, and then cross-border data flows, like I made mention of. But then again, diplomacy and technology here, we are looking at basically using emerging and new technologies, IT tools, social medias, among others, in driving the force of advocacy, negotiation, and then policy focus, among many others. So this is the context of our discussion. This is where we are situating our discussion this evening. How we can be able to use new technologies, IT tools, social media, among others, to be able to drive the force of advocacy, negotiations, and then policy focus as young people. So I made mention of the fact that having understand what diplomacy is about, having understand what technology is about, merging the two together, understanding the fact that we are looking at how we can harness ICT tools and then emerging technologies to be able to drive our advocacy as young people. Of course, young people leadership beyond building ourselves is to be able to impact on our society. And I believe that is one of the aims of youth impact movement. I like the fact that it is now more of a movement than only a parliament. It means that there are targeted goals and aims that a movement needs to achieve. And so we want to look at some of the scenarios, some of the advocacies, and then policy changes that some of these diplomatic activities took turn off in Ghana and internationally. So, I mean, prime among them is the Fix the Country movement that we have seen in recent years. And it just started with a tweet on social media, on Twitter, now X, that we all know of. And then it gathered a lot of conversation. I think it took almost a nation, about almost a month to be discussing this subject matter. There were cabinet meetings. It forced cabinet to go into meetings trying to meet some of the demands of the young people at the time. And so this tells you the force of how young people sitting in their houses, who doesn't even know each other, who may not even meet before, can just decide to use their phones to create a whole tension in a nation. And it has to force the government to respond to it. Another one is also say no to the Galamsey fight that is even currently going on. It also started as a tweet online, and now it's gathering a lot of attention. Both political parties in this year are forced to comment about it and to put a policy perspective to it. It shows, I mean, we didn't see the youth gathering on the streets. We just saw them sitting in their houses. Most of them may not even know each other. Literally, they don't even know each other. But then they have used and whatever things that they need. And of course, it's yielding positive results. I mean, we've seen the NSAS in Nigeria. We've seen the Kenyan protests by the Gen Zs. Well, I mean, they are using both social media and their physical presence, clearing the streets in Accra and all that. And then one of the biggest globally is Global Citizens, who are doing remarkable work. Deep down the presentation, we will appreciate some of the things that Global Citizens have been able to do and some of the remarkable achievements that they have had over the years. So let's go into details in some of the scenarios. So a 16-year-old Greta, which I made mention of, a Swedish girl, protested daily outside the Swedish parliament to demand the country to reduce its carbon emission by 15%. The result is that with a bold action, it led to about 1.4 million young people across more than 300 cities worldwide. So like I said, these are young people who don't know each other, from different countries, from different tribes, from different backgrounds. But over 300 cities have been brought to a standstill just by one young person who started an action, and then it was on social media. And then the social media trends that this gathered was about 1.4 million people. And they joined her highlights on issues of climate change and then global warming by March 15, 2019. The result is that, I mean, a lot of people came to awareness of that. And then her age and her tenacity got a story into the world press. I mean, the world press carried this news all over, and she has to be featured in the COP conference 2024 because of her passion and what she was able to do to be able to mobilize young people across the entire globe. And this was a positive drive. This is what youth leadership, this is what young leaders ought to be doing. And that is one of the scenarios that I want us to look at this evening. The second scenario was in 2016, when a woman dressed as a bride covered with blood-stained bandages stood in front of the Parliament of Lebanon. And what she intended to do was to drive the need for the abolishment of Article 522 of a law, allowing men to avoid punishment for rape if they were able to marry their victim. So until this protest by this woman, in Lebanon, when a man rapes a woman, once the man agrees to marry the woman, the law shields the man from punishment. So this woman was trying to send a statement that the white gown that is being worn to the women in terms of them being married does not cover the stain of blood or whatever trauma, whatever pain that they have been through as a result of rape. So she was at the Lebanon parliament, and she was dressed in a bright gown. However, she was having blood stains around her. And so she did that. And then eventually there was a supporting campaign that reached 20.8 million views on social media. It forced the world to pay attention to her. And not only was the law repealed in Lebanon, Tunisia and Jordan also amended similar laws. And this was as a result of a powerful, media-friendly, well-executed campaign. So yes, if one woman with 20.8 can gather 20.8 million people all over the world, can force 3 governments to be able to change existing laws in their parliament. She's not a politician, she's not an MP, she's not a minister, she's not a president. But it took just one woman to be able to drive the force and then get 3 governments to be able to change laws that has abused women for far too long. I think this is something that is worth learning as young people and then as young leaders. That is scenario 2. Again, the NSAS, as we have seen in Nigeria, was a social movement with series of mass protests against police brutality in Nigeria, and that was in 2020. The protest calls for the disbandment of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, which is known as SARS, a unit of the Nigerian police known for its excessive record of abuse against Nigerian citizens. So what SARS was doing was that they were able to profile young guys, young boys who particularly look like they are a bit resource. Once you have tattoo on yourself, once you dress in a particular way, they tend to target you, they abuse them, they take their properties, they are able to hold them hostage, arrest them for hours without prosecution and anything. So they are abusing the rights of the young people. It also took a tweet which started on Twitter in 2017 using the hashtag EndSARS to demand the unit disbandment by the Nigerian government. Eventually, on October 11, 2020, the Nigerian police force announced the dissolution of the SARS unit with immediate effect. And so this is what a protest which started on Twitter has been able to achieve, that a nationwide disbandment of an entire police unit was achieved by citizens, by young people who sat in their houses, used their phones, and was able to achieve a complete disbandment of a police unit that was abusing the rights of the people. Again, there are scenarios of global citizens, which I made mention that we're going to delve into. They have achieved a lot. Global citizens is a group on social media. What they basically do is they get people to sign petitions on issues that they think need attention of governments, of international organizations, of donors, and many more. So what they try to do is to drive the front of social media to bring the challenges of the world closer to those who have the financing to be able to do that. And they have been successful in a number of things. They had a program they ran called the One World Together at Home during COVID. And they were able to disburse 100% of the funds that they have mobilized during that COVID period. And the total money that they have been able to mobilize just on social media with active petition signing on social media was $127.9 million US. And the Together at Home program was very successful. They were able to disburse to 140 local and regional response organizations. And the World Health Organization COVID-19 Solidarity Response Fund was also giving some money. They also help in providing some PPEs, deploy emergency medical teams, and then distribute educational resources and many more to communities in need around the world. I mean, this is what just a number of people sitting in the comfort of their home was able to achieve, to be able to mobilize $127.9 million US to be able to support those who were marginalized during COVID. Another thing they also did was the Unite for One Future. And with the Unite for One Future, what they were able to do, they were able to mobilize about $1.4 billion US. In fact, the total mobilization was about $1.5 billion US, and then they have disbursed $1.4 billion of it. And that was to targeted people, supporting people during the COVID fight, millions of people during the COVID-19 fund. The fund include access to COVID tools, as well as platform for collaboration to launch accelerated global efforts in fight against COVID, and for the broader effect of the pandemic on the world's most marginalized and then disadvantaged communities. So this 1.4 billion went to some of these people in terms of economic support, in terms of business support, in terms of medical support, in terms of educational support, health support, and what have you during COVID. And this was still done by global citizens, people who have not known themselves. Again, Global Citizen, as part of Nelson Mandela's 100-year anniversary, launched a 3-year anniversary program, and they were able to impact 117 million lives across the whole world, most of them in Africa. So what they did was that they were able to mobilize $4.7 billion, targeted amount of $7.2 billion in commitments that was done. And then they started this program in 2018 in October in Johannesburg, South Africa. That was when they started this whole program in honor of Nelson Mandela, the African legend. And then, like I said, they were able to mobilize in excess of almost $5 billion, which they have disbursed to 117.8 million people in Africa and globally who have been impacted as a result of the announcement made in Johannesburg. So yes, By 2021, they are deserved about 4.7 billion out of 7.2 billion in commitment that has been disbursed. So, I mean, this is what a group of people who do not know themselves to achieve. Global Citizens alone has been able to disburse in almost excess of $10 billion within 3 years. From 2020 till now, has been able to disburse about $10 billion across board for various major things that they wanted to see. The last scenario I want us to consider about Global Citizens today is the 1.1 billion pledge that they have made to defeat poverty and then defend the planet. So at a live conference in New York City, Paris, Los Angeles, Lagos, they did a 24-hour event. And then one of the declarations they made during that period was to mobilize 1.1 billion in finances to be able to defend the planet and then to defeat poverty. By so doing, what they wanted to do is to be able to plant trees, about 150 million trees globally, to help in curbing some of the environmental challenges that we have, the whole global warming issues. Currently now, we are all seeing the devastating effect of galamsey on our forest reserves. So one of the things they intend to do is to be able to plant, restore, and then protect about 157 million trees globally. So yes, these are giant efforts that are being made by young people. I mean, believe you me, for young people, $1 billion, I think it is worth commending. This, than just hearing some of this, and also let us know the powers that we have together. It's just telling us what we can be able to achieve and how much impact we can be able to make in our world as young people. So, having said some of these scenarios, just a point of call to challenge us, I make my call to action this evening. So basically, what we've learned so far is learning about diplomacy, which I've made mention of the fact that diplomacy now stretches beyond traveling outside Ghana. It is about how we can be able to use the tools of diplomacy, i.e. negotiation, i.e. protests. I mean, if I say protest, I don't just say that we need to hit the streets, that we can sit in the comfort of our homes, to use our social media tools as we have them, to be able to drive positive change and then mobilizing resources for development, which we have seen in many scenarios. So yes, my question now is, how can the youth impact movement and parliament harness some of the tools of youth leadership, empowerment, diplomacy, and their technology to effect changes in our communities and then our constituencies and more? Is it possible that with education support, the youth impact movement can decide that as a start for every year, we can identify young people who don't have basic facilities in schools, maybe exercise books, maybe pens, pencil, what have you, just as a start. That every year we are providing, let's say, 100 pens to young people in our constituencies. It can be project constituency by constituency, no matter how little it is. Can we start by doing that? Or can we start being a voice of the broken education infrastructure that we have in our constituencies? As MPs who are representing these people and as young leaders, can we start by raising awareness on some of these issues? What about environmental awareness? Our choke gutters, our clean streets and all that. Can we start as a people, maybe taking pictures of some of these things, posting them on social media and drawing the attention of the authorities to it? I realized that development in Africa is largely a reactive. There's always a reactive strategy to development in Africa. What I mean by that is that it looks like most of the time our leaders are always sitting down to look for us to shout first before they're able to do the things we do. So then again, can we take it upon ourselves? We don't have the wherewithal to be able to do some of these things, but can we bring the awareness of some of these environmental challenges to our people and then get leadership to respond to them, and that the leadership is able to do the right things? Again, can we look at HTU? I mean, I know that the Youth Impact Parliament is largely domiciled in HTU. So what I put here as institutional influence, is it possible that almost all the next leaders of HTU on student front should be incubated through the Youth Impact Senate and Parliament? Is it possible? How are we able to influence the leadership front? And if we are doing that, how can we then transform that influence into tangible results as young people that we can be able to advocate, even if it's just a year, that we can get effective institutional reforms that we want as far as the welfare of students on HTU campus is concerned, that as our host community, as a people, we are able to contribute something to them, that we're not just taking from them, but we are contributing to them as a movement. So that is also one of the things we are looking at. Then, of course, economic support. Is it possible that as a movement, we can go into our markets to educate our women on petty cash keeping, on financial knowledges and literacy and all that? Is it possible that we can do some of those things? Can we give young businesses highlights on our platforms? Can we decide that, okay, fine, maybe every Monday is a market day for youth impact movement. We identify young businesses who are doing well. We just put them on our social media handles, make sure they get highlighted, they get mentions. If we can mention them to our friends, whatever we can do. Is it possible that we can do some of these things? And I believe that some of these things can get real returns if we want to do them. And I believe that beyond us just being a parliament that just sits and then discuss the issues, we are moving a step further to start providing the solutions to the issues that we discuss. So it doesn't just look like we're just going to the traditional way of just always talking about the problems, always complaining, and we are not finding solutions to them. If we complain, we will complain and complain. Our children will come and meet us to complain, and we will complain with our children, and our grandchildren will come and meet us to complain with our children and ourselves. And I don't think that is the way to go. And so, in my concluding remarks, I want to say that to be a leader implies that you have to be visionary. You have to be a leader with purpose, and then it calls for action today. The actions and inactions of today as a leader creates tomorrow's possibilities, or it shapes the possibilities of tomorrow. Believe you me, wishing and guessing and hoping and lamenting and complaining will not bring the solutions that we want. In the words of Barack Obama, he said that we owe it a duty to ourselves to make sure that we make this world a little bit better, that we have inhabited for our children. And for us to be able to get those things done, that indeed, if and when our time on earth is done, we can be able to be proud and say that, look, we did not only just pass, but then we were visionary enough to think about the next generation. We have led with purpose, and we're able to take actions. We didn't just say those things, we didn't just hope them, we didn't just wish them. We were able to take actions indeed to be able to shape the possibilities of the future. Are we ready to dare to dream big, no matter how it is? Look, it took a 15-year-old girl to be able to bring the entire world's attention for their parliament to repeal laws that were oppressing women and young girls in their countries. It took young citizens to be able to mobilize over $10 billion to impact many, many lives across the world. To the Youth Impact Parliament, and then Youth Impact Movement, and then the Senate. It's a call to duty, a call to action today that we can dare to dream big. For it is in the pursuit of audacious goals that true greatness is achieved. The people that we celebrate today, from the likes of Nelson Mandela, the lives of Leopold Sedar Senghor, the life of our own Dr. Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the lives of Zig Ziglar, the lives of Lincoln, and many more are men who were able to take bold steps to create initiatives when even at those times it looked like it was an impossibility. Today, they are the men and the women who we salute, but for their decisive leadership, maybe the world would have not been the way it is today. And I want to say that leadership is not about age. It's not about how young or how old you are. It's about inspiring others through your actions and integrity. So like I said, just maybe the little things that are around us, the choke gutters that we see, the dirty spots that we see, the market women who are struggling, the people who are being abused. Can we start being a voice for those people? It's not about how young we are. It's about the fact that we can inspire people to start taking action. And believe you me, I've realized that the world is hungry for those who will start and they will follow. If you can look at one woman who can gather about 20.8 million people, and then once you start a positive movement, it victors every sentiment, every prejudices, biases, and whatever it is, because people want to see the world change. People are hungry to see a new paradigm, a new way of doing things, a new dimensions to their life. And so my concluding remarks are that beyond the pageant,
Wow. Wow. Wow.
so I don't know. I think if there are questions, we can take them at this period. If there are suggestions, there are inputs that can be made. The night is almost gone, so we can just take them briefly, and then I think we are done for the day. Mr. Speaker.
Yes, thank you very much. Uh, Today's presentation has been really enlightening and then inspirational. I didn't know that a group of young men could gather funds as much as $1 billion to fight a cause. In Youth Impact Parliament, one of our constraints is finances. I believe when we are able to get donors and supporters who can support us financially, we could do a lot more of what you are saying. Some of us have to sacrifice our own personal resources to just make things get done. So one of the questions I have is, do you have any guidance as to how we could seek financial support from these NGOs and then all those who could support our cause? And also, if you want to do one of these actions of a public support, could be an SDG action I want to pursue, poverty alleviation, is it education, and then all those. Is it possible we could get? Do you have any avenue that you could suggest for us to solve our financial issues so that we could pursue some of this? Because we obviously have some of these things in plan, but the financial constraint becomes our limit in this. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So my research, in fact, from, I don't know if I'm loud and clear.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, you're audible.
All right. From 2022, I've taken the pain to start reading about what is currently trending as social entrepreneurship, and then how grants and all those things work. And I was marveled to find out that there is a minimum allocation of about 10 trillion annually for donors, that donors are willing to commit to social activities globally. So here in Ghana, just about 2 weeks ago, a friend of mine who is a medical doctor, who is running a program right now on some HIV medical assistance, because he's done a research. What he did was that he's done a research and he realized that it's not that people don't want to get tested. It's not that people don't want to get medically treated as far as HIV is concerned, but because what they want is a more easy, accessible hospital facilities, which they feel they are not getting access to. He put a proposal together just 2 weeks ago, he shared with me that he's been able to get about $50,000 allocation from the World Bank for that. So then again, there are a lot of funds available. Myself, I've been on a number of grants. I've been a beneficiary on a number of grants. When I was in school in 2019, one of the projects that I spearheaded was the Otumfor revitalization of the Lake Bosomtwi Dam. And then we're able to secure some funding from University of Sydney from Australia, and then Newfoundland University in UK, what's the name, in Canada. They came down, some of the experts came down, they supported technically and also brought finances for us to be able to plant. Then I think about 20,000 trees along the Lake Bosomtwi itself. So, of course, I must also admit that, yes, the beginning may be a bit muddy. Why it is that is because precedence has had it that most times people just come on the scene, get some of this money and use it for their personal stuffs. So when you start, they would want to see if indeed you are serious about what you are doing. But believe you me, once you have been able to build an integrity track record and you are ready to be accountable, believe you me, the world is ready to churn out millions of dollars to you to be able to do the things you want to do. And we have seen many of these things even in our contemporary world. We've seen many fund mobilization for people with kidney diseases, with heart failures and all that. And people, media houses just go on social media to announce that, look, this person has this problem. And you see how people are willing to donate. Ghanaians are generally generous people, and very hospitable people. And then they will want to donate to those things. But beyond that, there are a lot of funds. There is COPEC Fund. There is the World Economic Fund for Youth Advocacy. I'll share some of this with you. And then a number of them that are mainly for youth. For example, the Nelson Mandela program, for example, has a lot of grant associations to it. And then you are able to tap into. And many more of them. Most of these diplomatic events end up with actions that they want them to implement. For example, this year, I was supposed to be in Austria participating in the International Youth Conference, International Diplomat Conference. And one of the key areas of focus for these years was looking at smoking and its adverse effects among the young people. Because myself and some of my friends have done a research and realized that close to 2 million youth in Ghana smoke, and it has a lot of adverse effects. And that was almost about 10% of our active working population. And if as a nation, we have 10% of our working population smoking, and with its adverse effect like diabetes and heart failures and psychiatric issues and all the social stigma that comes with it, it means that we are sitting on a time bomb. Because it means that sooner or later, in the next 10 years to come, we are going to be having almost more than half of our active work population who will be disabled in terms of working. And it's a call for concern. We put in that proposal as part of the things we want to do. And then it was bought in. It's a project that we are working on. And then we are trusting God that everything works well. And then we will eventually start a lot of the intensive work once the go-ahead is given. But believe you me, the world is hungry for things that they want to put in resources as far as social activities are concerned. So yes, again, Mr. Speaker, there are a lot of avenues, but like I said, the people who want to give you the money want to be sure that you are serious with what you are doing, you are intentional about what you are doing. And I think that with us, like I said, we have social media as a tool that we can start using. Once we start driving the positive change, people are ready to come on board. And one also thing that we have to look at is most of the time, the political interferences in this thing, that you don't wear a political color for some of these things, because some of these advocacies must be seen as a neutral thing. It's not just in favor of a political party. So the firmness, the boldness, the integrity, the accountability, once you get that intact, there is a lot of resources available for us to be able to do some of those things. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, and you have given us hope. I as well will work with you to see how best we can come up with a project to access some of these funds. As you have said, you have cited your confidence in our activity in capacity building. And I believe if we are able to write a proposal in this, which is within our strength that we can do, we could also win. And I believe having you on board as well, we can work on this. I have another question as well. You spoke about the reactive nature of our leaders in Africa. Is there a possibility that African leaders could change from having that reactive sense of solving problems to a proactive sense of solving problems?
Yes, I think so. I think so. And how we will be able to do that is to be able to demand more accountability. For example, I would have been expecting that the Fix the Country movement becomes a solid movement that is in existence. Like today, even when you look at the current manifestos of the two political parties, we are seeing for the first time that all the policies are focused towards the youth. Believe you me, the politicians are listening to the power of the youth. But for that, before now, the youths are seen as just a sub-component of governance. But now both political parties are looking at, when you look at the NPP, is looking about digitalization and how they can drive the youth into such a concept. The NDC is talking about the 24-hour economy. We are listening to things like training of 1 million coders and 1 million digital skills and a lot of initiative. When you listen to most of the policies, they are youth-driven policies. Now, what we have to do beyond just these policies is that we have to hold them accountable. So I would have expected that, then again, like the Youth Impact Parliament, like I know there is a National Youth Parliament, there is a NUGS, there is what's the name, USAG, and many of these institutions. One of the things we should have been seeing for them to do in this period is to be able to merge their forces together, bring some of these people to roundtable discussions, create a platform. What we've seen in University of Mines, they had a seminar for all the parliamentary candidates to come and articulate their policies on Galamsey. We've seen that with the clergy. Most of the clergies had to get some of these people to speak to the things that they want. So yes, we have allowed as young people for the politicians to divide the youth front for far too long. But I believe that if it's all the parliament coming together, having an umbrella body or whatever, that look, in every election season, we are going to get these politicians to sit down to make definite commitments, not just political gibberish, because that looks comfortable for anybody to do. Anybody can climb any platform to just say anything out of amusement and excitement. But if you can get them to make commitments which are achievable and feasible, and then now when they are sworn into government, we demand high accountability from them. I believe that gradually our leaders will be forced to become reactive. And I think that we are achieving that gradually. It may take time, but I think that we have to intensify more effort and then make sure that we keep on driving the energy. That is the only way that they can become reactive and not proactive. Those are my thoughts.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Godson, you have a question? You have a question?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I tested my question to the group. I don't know if I should read it out or I should say.
Read it here. Read it here.
Oh, all right. So, once again, thank you for the opportunity. I was asking that, we have some people who are imposter syndrome. They fear, they don't have the confidence, they don't believe in themselves. So, how do we get them along in all this so that they can also, we need to get them, amplify the voices of the marginal, those who, the youth who are innovative and all that. So how do we get the imposter syndrome persons also along? Then I was also asking if I can get a slide for the presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, honorable member. So on the issue of people being scared and all that, today I was listening to a profile, a delivery that was being made by the veteran legal practitioner, Matik Bebu. And then he said something that struck me. He said, Ghana is where Ghana is because a lot of people are scared. And I think I agree with him to a very large extent. Human beings generally, and particularly Africans, look like we are not daring enough. We want everything. We want a presumption where it looks like we are so sure about our end result before we take an action. But believe you me, life doesn't work that way. The many people who have dared the odds were the ones who took the very difficult decision when they were not even sure of the outcome. So then again, yes, it will begin with the number of people. There are different caliber of people in a group. There are people who are pace setters, people who have an energy to begin a thing. There are those who, when they sit on the fence and they realize that the thing is working, that they want to join and feel belong. There are those who are also good finishers. When they realize that the thing is almost ending, that they want to jump on board. But there are very few who have the energy and tenacity to go through the whole process from beginning to the end. So yes, this is why this is a movement, and we are leaders. One of the things we have to do is to be able to evaluate our leadership capacities. We know where our weaknesses are. We know where our strength is. We can do a SWOT analysis for Youth Impact Parliament as a group to know that, okay, fine. When you are looking at those who are our strength in terms of maybe advocacy, in terms of IT, in terms of this, these are the people that we have. This is where we have weakness. So when we want to champion an agenda, we know those who are our best foot to put forward, those who can be backing, and those who will later join in. But like I said, Africa itself, because of our contemporary culture, nature, and all that, I agree that most people are kind of a bit timid. Most people are not bold enough, particularly in public. Most people, there is a thin line in Africa between confidence and arrogance. Yes, that I know. However, our fathers, our grandfathers have lived this life. It has not benefited us in any way. I think that it's about time that we keep on asking for whatever that we feel it is entitled us. Let me say this, that we owe nobody an apology as young people in Ghana to demand for best life. You owe nobody as a young person in Ghana to ask that you have good drinking water. You owe nobody an apology in Ghana that you have stable electricity. You owe nobody an apology as a young person to demand for a good job and a good paying job and a stable job. You owe nobody an apology in Ghana to demand for efficient health system and efficient education system. You owe nobody an apology. What I can say is it is about conviction. It is about believing in yourself. It's about knowing that whatever you are doing is for the best interests of this country and then for generations to come. So we don't need to get everybody along from day one. Let's get started. Once we start, I believe people will join and it will keep on growing. That is my thought. For the slides, I'll discuss with Mr. Speaker and then I can share the slides with him, and then I'm sure he will arrange with you on how getting the slides. Thank you very much, Honorable Godson.
Thank you. I think, okay, I think we can progress. So I would like our guest speaker to give his final remarks on the entire presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. To both House, the Senate, and then the Parliament, and then the movement, I want to first thank you all so much for your audience. And then it's a privilege I do not take granted for granted at all. It's always a nice time having this conversation and doing these dialogues, you know, and it's a privilege that I do not take granted. So thank you all for granting me audience. I know it's late into the night, but we are all here, and thank you. And I just want to say that as young people, let's dare the odds. Let's not settle for less. Believe you me, I know some of us may have seen a lot. We have making certain progress, but I want to assure you that beyond your wildest imagination, there is still more. There are people who are daring the odds. Believe you me, the entire government of Ghana went to the IMF for $3 billion as bailouts. And it takes young people who don't know themselves to be able to mobilize $10 billion in just 3 years. That is something that should be challenging enough. If it takes one young 15-year-old lady to be able to put the entire United Nations to a standstill, and COPEC 2024 will be built around her, both all heads of state from the entire world
and then the United Nations Secretary, the Secretary General, can be put to a standstill by just a young 15-year-old girl. I don't think that you and I have an excuse. If you take one woman in Lebanon to be able to ensure that today, women in the Philippines and in the Caribbean and Asia and all that, today will not be raped by a miscreant and it just goes scot-free because the lady has been married. I mean, the fact that she's been married does not mean that the scars of a rape is left her. It does not mean that the emotional trauma and the esteem issues and all the pain and the agony she will go through has been covered. The veil that she has put on, the white gown that she has put on is not covering that. But if you can take just one woman, and this has lived with them for centuries, but it took one woman just a few days to gather 20.8 million people all over the world to be able to make sure that 3 governments, without an election, without a protest, without a parliamentary mandate, were able to repeal these laws. And today, only God knows how many young ladies, how many young women are out there living their lives happily and are able to do the things they want to do. Then you and I do not have an excuse. Again, to the conclusion of my matter is that let's get to work, let's get the things done, and let's impact our society. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, our guest speaker. To proceed with my closing remarks, I would like to, on behalf of leadership and myself, convey our sincerest gratitude to our guest speaker, of whom we changed the date 2 times and changed the time 2 times, but he has still availed himself. And we want to promise him that the recording will be shared so that people who could not even join us will benefit from the wisdom and enlightenment he has shared with us. And we are ready himself to impact us. And also, I want to thank participants for joining today's session. And it is really, really good to have you take interest in our virtual leadership seminar series. Our virtual leadership seminar series is a series that we do virtually to allow people with impact, like my good friend Elorm, to share their take with us, to impact us. And for the attention of my participants listening to us, I want to indulge you all to follow Youth Impact Parliament on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Telegram, YouTube, and on WhatsApp. Youth Impact Parliament is a youth organization that has been around for 3 years, of which the movement is its mother body, and we have a humanitarian branch called Youth Impact Foundation. Youth Impact Parliament has 4 country chapters: Ghana, India, Namibia, and Tanzania, and we are hoping, and Uganda, and we are hoping to open our new branch in Tanzania soon, hopefully. And we are the first youth group to have a bicameral legislature, that is both the Senate and upper chamber and the Parliament, a lower chamber. And what we do is to create opportunity for youth to be groomed in leadership skills, parliamentary business, social norms and values, public speaking. Such as this is to impact you. And hopefully on Tuesday, 22nd October, we would have the 22nd edition of the virtual leadership seminar with Prophet Ernest Peter to join us all. To support Youth Impact Movement, you can just contact me on 0201476896 for discussions on that. And once again, I want to thank our guest speaker, Mr. Michael Elorm Dorkpah, for availing himself to impact us. And I think next year we'll try and have you physically interact with us. We have had you 2 times virtually, and I think that in your next appearance has to be a physical one to address the parliament that we have and inspire young people like us. So please have that in mind for next year.
All right, sir. Well noted.
Thank you very much. So let's take our closing prayer. Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to look with favor upon this youth impact movement. Grant that he may perform his high duty as in thy sight. Give wisdom and understanding to all who have participated in this seminar, both now and in the future, that they may proceed to implement what they have heard and of which will result in their personal development and impact the world at large. We commit unto your hands our 21st guest speaker, who was our second as well, Mr. Michael Elorm Dorkpah, that you bless him and bless his hands, that he may bring us success in all his endeavors, and bless the efforts of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality, inspire and strengthen our people that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Youth Impact Movement and globally. Amen. You all and have a great night.
All right. Thank you so much.